Brought to us by Paramount Pictures, Smile is a two-part movie directed by Parker Finn. As an avid fan of the horror genre, I put the Smile movies on peak horror fiction. What seemed like a cheap horror flick about a supernatural curse became one of the most discussed horror films at its time. But you see, not everything is perfect, as the movies have their share of valid criticisms. The main takeaway is that the movies are a metaphor for trauma and how one goes through it. It's a sensitive subject that, if not treated carefully, the media can become problematic. If you've seen the endings, you're likely left with a sour taste, which is understandable. The films can be needlessly cruel to its main characters while attempting to be an allegory for overcoming mental illness. This video isn't to call out the criticisms, as most of these pointers are coming from people who are themselves dealing with mental illness, such as trauma and depression. They have the best intentions, don't get me wrong. What you need to know is that the endings left these audiences with a distasteful core message. I was too. Until recently, I started to notice some inconsistencies about the film's monster. As someone who's also dealing with mental illness, I didn't mind the film's cold endings. The reason being is that I've started to question the logic of the antagonist, known as the Smile entity. I believe that the movies have been lying to us. So, I want to propose a theory about how the entity is not a demon that feeds on trauma, let alone a trauma demon or an actual demon, but instead a fourth-dimensional being with four-dimensional abilities. A quick synopsis for both films since the plots are almost identical. The main character gets the Smile curse and over the course of the movie must find a way to expel it until the entity assimilates them and passes the curse to its next victim. However, what each movie did differently is how the main protagonists seek to defeat the Smile entity. Major spoiler warning ahead. Rose Cotter from the first movie tried to defeat the entity psychologically by overcoming her greatest trauma. Sky Riley from the second movie tried a more physical approach through faking her death by stopping her heart temporarily, so the curse has nowhere else to go. Unfortunately and strangely, both of these attempts did not work. The movie wants its audience to believe that the Smile entity is this undefeatable force once you catch it. However, this makes the Smile curse inconsistent, especially what the first film demonstrated. Why did overcoming it not work if the entity is this manifestation of trauma itself? Or is it? In Smile 2, Rose's ex passes the curse to a buyer who clearly never cared about the dealer's death. The important detail is that he wasn't traumatized, but this counts for some reason. If we're made to think the Smile entity symbolizes trauma, why is it more interested in following its strict rules? Which ironically helped it find a troubled pop star. Could it be that the entity can predict the future? Let's answer that by talking about dimensions. I theorized that the entity is a fourth-dimensional being and requires a mathematical perspective to be defeated. Imagine a two-dimensional being trapped in a square on a 2D surface. For it to escape the square without breaking it, it can only travel the third dimension, depth. They can't see it, but we can. Since we live in the third dimension, now imagine being locked inside a box. For you to escape the box without breaking it, you can only travel through a different time or state where you're not inside the box. Time travel is our best reference for the fourth dimension. Us three-dimensional beings are prisoners of time. The entity haunts its victims with its ability to manipulate time. This could explain the abrupt ending of the second film. The Smile entity can calculate its moves by looking into the future or travel to the past when the victim does something smart. The entity can create illusions by masking reality into delusions or vice versa through the power of time travel. Eliminating yourself, can't believe I have to say that, can't get rid of the curse because the Smile entity can reverse time and make events seem like a delusion. In the scene where Sky tries to outrun her fans in her room, she hits her head on a piano and the entity attempts to get inside her. This was confirmed to be real in the next scene where she was sent to the hospital. But what if she was supposed to get assimilated in that moment because someone was yet to enter her room but decided not to? I believe that the Smile entity can't wear its victims yet unless there is another victim nearby to witness. I believe this stranger to be none other than Morris. I'm probably the few that believes he's actually real. Many articles say that he isn't. What's weird about him is that his story is unconcluded. He's the one who suggested to Sky to remove the curse through temporary death. When Sky finds him after the driving scene, he just suddenly disappears from the plot and the entity quote unquote teleports Sky to the concert as if nothing ever mattered. But if this was a case of the entity bending time rather than creating delusions out of thin air, all of a sudden things start to get a lot more sense. Did Sky's mother actually die? Absolutely. But she got revived due to the entity sending Sky to another timeline where she accepts the tour. Many were let down by the sudden transition of the second movie, wondering if the hospital escape was ever real and how Sky got on stage. However, Rose had the exact same thing happen to her at the end of the first movie after she defeats the entity psychologically. She leaves her old house to her ex's place only for that entire drive to be a delusion? Or was it? Sky's drive to meet the surgeon took only a day. Maybe the entity can only time travel in short periods, likely less than a day. If you're anticipating my theories on how to defeat this time-traveling, reality-bending eldritch trickster, I apologetically don't have an answer for that. I only want to suggest that if the Smile entity can't be defeated psychologically or physically, maybe the third film can explore a more mathematical or even a non-Euclidean approach. If we are going to get a potential third movie, there are many possibilities. They could go for a apocalyptic Bird Box style horror film, or maybe out of the million Riley fans, only one catches it. The third story could also focus on Morris. He just appears out of nowhere and never to be seen again. He could likely be the focus of the third film instead of a victim. My goal for this video is to share my opinions on the matter and not change people's minds. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. I would like to start some conversations. I had this thought for a long time, but Reddit typically does not like to promote long essays to be shared widely. I'll see you in the next video.